Hey class, how's it going? Since I'm not going to be here today, I have a substitute. I'm going to be out talking about the new high school design. I thought I'd just go through the exercise with you. That way you didn't just sit around here on the third day of class and have nothing to work on. So here we go. I'm going to pick up where I left off yesterday using my selection tool. And actually, I'm going to go over to the magic wand and grab the quick selection tool. Same way we had started out yesterday. I'm going to adjust my brush size and I'm going to make a selection through my lady here on the screen, trying to get up through her body, up through her head, down into her legs, and out into her calf. Now adjust my brush size a little bit smaller, left bracket key to do that. Go up into the hand just a little bit. I don't need to go up to the fingertips. Go out into this hand, but I don't need to go to the fingertips, and up into the sandal, but don't need to go out to the toes. Now, after I make kind of a rough selection, trying to do a pretty decent job, and you notice that I have a little area here that kind of popped out, you can hold down the Alt key, which turns that to a subtraction, and paint back over that little part, and try to eliminate that if you can. But ultimately, I'm going to be going into the Refine Edge option up here at the top of the screen. When I click on Refine Edge, as we talked about yesterday, you'll notice that you have kind of a white background or maybe black on transparent, but that's a view choice that I'm going to simply change to on black. Just kind of a way to help you preview what your image looks like and how clean it is. And we're trying to get a very clean, very professional looking mask created for us. And before I forget, I'm going to go down to the bottom here and make sure my option is set to new layer with a layer mask. And I have that set to remember settings. Now we talked about turning on Smart Radius and adjusting the radius so it kind of looks out on its own to find where the edges are. You can either use that or don't use it. If you don't use Smart Radius, then what you're trying to do is take your brush, adjust it down to a decent size, a little bit bigger than the image, and kind of paint around areas you would like Photoshop to analyze a little bit cleaner, a little bit better, a little bit more in detail. When you let go, it does a decent job of finding pretty good edges. Now I am going to use Smart Radius, which brings most of my image into clarity, and I'm going to be exporting that by hitting OK. And now I have, as you see over here on the right side of your screen under your layers, a new layer that I can turn off. Here's my original. Turn off the original, turn back on the new layer that has a mask created. Now the idea of a mask is a new concept, I think, for most of you. Basically what's happening is we have an image that we can click on, and we have a mask that's black and white that we can click on. And it's either or. You have to click on one or the other. With a mask, uh, anything that I have covered in black is hidden. It's still there, it's just being hidden. Anything that's in white is showing. So clearly the idea is the white part of the mask is her, and we're trying to show her. But you can see on my checkerboard background, she's not standing out really that well around the fringe of her. She's kind of semi-erased. She's semi-transparent in some places. Well, I could demonstrate by taking a paintbrush, regular paintbrush, with size adjusted accordingly. If I were to paint in white, I'll switch my colors here to white, adjust my brush size down a little bit, and I paint part of my image back in, that image comes back. It's like I'm unhiding it. But the problem is, just using the brush, it's easy for me to kind of paint out here in space and bring back in the bad parts of the image that I was trying to eliminate to start with. So I want to do that. Rather than using a paintbrush to help me clean up the mask, two great tools, Dodge and Burn. I'm going to show you where they're at, located over here on the side. Dodge and Burn. Dodge is meant to take white colors and push them whiter. It's almost like a Clorox commercial, man. You have to have whiter whites and darker darks. Burn is going to take your darks and make them darker. Now think about that in terms of the mask. If I take the Dodge tool, which is set, and I'm going to show you up here at the top of the screen, to work on highlights, and paint over my image anywhere the mask should have been white but isn't quite white, this nicely is going to go back and bring those edges back. So again, this is with the dodge tool, and I'm just going over the fringe of her, set to work on highlights, and really don't think about it in terms of her color image, think about it in terms of the black and white mask image. And I'm going over and just painting over, and really what you're brightening here is the white part of her mask. And all I have to do is kind of paint back over her image and fill it back in, let it kind of solidify those areas that were semi-transparent and make them opaque again. And really that quickly and easily, I have a completed image ready to cut. Now I'm sure that it's going to take you a little bit more practice, it's going to take you a little bit more understanding, but only what's happening here again as you look over my mask on the right side of the screen with the layers, I'm brightening the white part of the mask and making it whiter, which causes it to be not transparent at all, it's opaque. Switch over to the burn tool, and in switching to burn, what I'll be working on are shadows. Now that's not a given, you have to go up and check that option out. I'm going to work on shadows. Again, adjust my brush size down here to a decent size. And this time I'm working on the outside of her and kind of just painting around the outside. And the idea is I'm taking what should be black on my mask and making it pure black and really just trying to clean this up. If you want to test this out and see truly how your image looks, sometimes it's a little hard with a checkerboard background. Usually what I like to do, if you could follow me here, I'm going to go back over to my layers. I'll select my background layer, which is turned off right now. I'm going to make a brand new layer. And on the brand new layer, I'm going to go grab a color like, oh, maybe dark gray. And I'll fill that new layer in. Dark gray, so I have a dark gray background behind her that's solid that I can kind of see whether she's transparent or not. There's an easy keyboard shortcut for fill. It's Alt Backspace. And when I do that, see how now I'm able to see that I have a little bit of a fringing problem. She's a little blue around her outside edge. Then clearly what I want to do is go to my mask and kind of darken this back in using my dodge tool or burn tool again. So I'll go to burn, set to work on shadows. I'll zoom in here and I'll try to clean up this image a little bit better. And you can see as I take my time and kind of go around this fringe now, I can kind of paint away some of these areas that are artifacts, details outside that I really don't want. Now her actual blue fringe right up next to her body, I won't worry about all that much because there's another way to get rid of that. I'm only worried about the ones that kind of stick off in space a little bit, so I'm just going around again with this burn tool outside of her and painting over it. And the beauty of this is you don't have to worry about whether you come over top of the photograph, the color part of the image, because it's not set to look at white, it's set to look at darks. Again, think about the mask, not her color photograph. That's something hard to kind of make a mental connection with. Here's another little artifact over here. I paint over it with my burn tool. That was supposed to be black. Now it is, and my mask is nearly complete. Okay, the rest of her I'll fix in my finished image. A little bit of a problem around my hand up here. Fix up these little areas, kind of paint over the fringe a little bit. Anything I can get rid of here, the better off I'll be later. Okay. Now, I imagine that'll take you a little bit of time to work on. Go ahead and take all the time you need. Pause the video, play the video, do whatever you want, rewind it. But I'm going to move on to the next step. Once I have a good mask created, the mask can actually be used to make a selection. What you're going to do is hold down on your keyboard the Control key, and you're going to click on the thumbnail of the mask, and that'll make a selection out of your person or whatever you have masked out. You can see the marching ants around your selection, but you don't want to copy this. That'd be copying the black and white mask. You want to switch over, you want to click back over into your photograph of that layer, and then we're going to go up to Edit Copy. We'll switch over to this Content Aware image, and we'll do Edit Paste. There she is in there, fairly clean. There's a few touches left to do, but that's the majority of it. Now you might want to free transform. If you can remember the the keyboard shortcut for free transform is Control T, maybe size her, but I think I'm pretty happy with her scale factor. We're good to go. I would probably clean up her fringe a little bit, and that's like kind of another added step. If you want to stop there, if you run out of time, don't worry about it. Make sure you save your file. If you want to move on to that final step in finishing her off, here it is. Now that she's pasted in, I'm actually going to duplicate her layer. Control J, and I'll tell you what, I'll name this layer, and I'll name this her good layer. Her good layer. There we go. And the one underneath, I'm going to name fringe. For right now, I'm going to turn off her good layer. The fringe layer I'm going to use for the outside portion of her body. Just a little bit of a fringe on the outside. And what I'm going to do is change the layer blending mode, which you can see me adjusting right now, probably to something like multiply. And it'll kind of create a ghost image of her. Now, if I go back to the original image, to get rid of that blue fringe around her, I'll again control click the thumbnail, making a selection out of her. I'll go up to Select, Modify, Contract. And I'll contract down about, let's say 3 pixels. That's too much. How about if we contract that, select Modify, Contract 1 pixel. 1 pixel looks good. Now, if I hit delete on my keyboard, what would happen? I would delete mainly her, and I want to delete her fringe on this layer, if you could think about that. So I have to inverse my selection. Up underneath, select, inverse. Now I have the outside of her selected, and I'll simply on my keyboard hit delete. Okay, now I'm going to deselect that, and I'm kind of done. I have my good layer and her fringe, and when you put the two together, it looks like a complete finished image minus the blue fringing problem that I had. Okay, we're good to go. Save it up. A couple little things we'll do for fun tomorrow, but have a good day, and I will see you tomorrow.